So next up we have Casey Cornett. He's the Director of Social at VI, the second largest agency here in the state, with offices in Colorado Springs and Colorado and Kansas City, I believe. And he's one of the original Twitterati from Oklahoma City, so many of you may be familiar with his tweets. And I'm proud to say that he's coming out here to talk about social, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot. So please welcome to the stage, Casey Cornett.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Damn right. As he mentioned, my name is Casey Cornett. I'm the social media director at VI Marketing and Branding. And before we go on, I'm going to try something. Can I get everyone to just stand up where you are? Just right where you are. Just stand up. Okay, so yes, I can get everyone to stand up. You can sit back down. I don't really need anything. Just sometimes you wonder how much power you have up on the stage with a microphone, and I'm starting to get a feel for that right now. That was fun. So I get asked 4 or 5 times a year to go and speak on social media, and so you could say this isn't my first rodeo. And for David, that means it's not my first time. You're English. I know you don't know those colloquialisms. But anyway, it's not my first rodeo, but 1 month ago, roughly, August 8th, 2015, in the literal sense, it was my first rodeo. And this picture, what is too dark a little bit to see in this, it's me in the front with my brand new cowboy hat, and I've got about 18 of our friends around us, and we went to Pawnee, Oklahoma. As a 5th generation Oklahoman, I was a little bit embarrassed that I had yet to be to a rodeo at the age of 32. So my group of friends here, they're affectionately called the DPP, and if you want to know what that means, you can find me afterwards. But what we did here was a little bit unique. It took a few tries, but I did this panoramic selfie, which is a lot more difficult than it sounds. But after we got it, I loved the photo, tweeted it out, giddy up, Pawnee, Pawnee Rodeo, and it got a few retweets, right? We got, it's 3 down here in the bottom left. So my followers, along with all the followers of those 3 retweets, we had a potential impression reach of 9,054. But way down here at the bottom, you can see the actual impressions were only 1,309. That's kind of a bummer, about 15%. I was actually one-upped with this photo just a few minutes later by the Zeekster, Tracy Zeke. She took my photo, doctored it, and made it say, "Vote Casey Cornett, America's choice for president of Oklahoma." And I loved this. I thought it was great. I actually saw Tracy last night at the non-doc launch party, and I told her I was going to be using this in my presentation, and I was like, yeah, president of Oklahoma, it's got such a good ring to it. And she looked at me with her serious face, and she goes, well, I thought it would just be an honor to be nominated. Yeah. It is an honor to be nominated. But anyway, Tracy's following, along with the 5 retweets that she had, could have potentially reached 18,000 people. But as you see, the impressions down here are just about 1,300, somewhere around 7%, 15%, 7%. One more example, I was lucky enough, my wife and I, to go to the Good Eggs brand new opening of the Drake to taste some seafood. It's wonderful if you haven't been yet. Completely stuffed. I posted this photo, it got 7 retweets, and all of our followers combined, 33,000, only reached about 10%. It's kind of a bummer, right? How did we get to this point in social where we're reaching 15%, 8%, 7%? But if you thought these numbers were bad, wait, it gets worse! I'm so glad the audio worked on that. The evil empire, Facebook. The numbers we just talked about, in comparison to Facebook, are actually probably pretty good. The organic reach for a Facebook post now is 4.1%. So if you're a small business and you've got 1,000 fans on Facebook, on average, organically, you're only reaching 41. You know, the rumors are flying in the last couple of years about likes don't mean anything anymore. Organic reach is just falling like crazy, and those rumors are pretty much true in regards to organic reach. But it's really no wonder of why it does this. This number does go up and down very slightly depending on how well you are engaging with your audience. And engaging has been a buzzword that's been around for years. And for a while, it's all we knew. You have to engage, engage, engage. It doesn't matter what it is, just engage with somebody. And that number might go from 4.1 to 5. Or it could go down from 4.1 to 2 if all you're doing is being promotional and no one cares. So let's take a look about what the average person's daily feed looks like. I turn on my Facebook app, got friends talking about their wedding pictures. That's great. I'll probably click on something there. I go next, scroll down a little bit farther, and I see a brand talking about an event coming. I scroll down a little bit farther. It's my wife talking about books. I quickly scroll past that. No, I'm just joking. See, I did like it down at the bottom. You can tell. Don't put me on the couch again. So, clickbait is the fourth one that we're looking at. It's Barbie in a bathtub. Very enticing. Scrolling past that, we're going to see this video of a robot riding a bike. Right? This is a brand posting a video of a robot riding a bike. So we had wedding pictures of a friend of mine. We had a brand. We had my wife. We had clickbait with Barbie. And then we have a video of a robot riding a bike. And I bring these up because as a small business, you need to know that your competitors on social media are not your competitors in the real world. Your competitors on social media is my wife, it's my friends, it's a damn robot riding a bike. That is your competitor on social media. You're fighting for space, you're fighting for attention, and you're fighting to get someone to not scroll past you to check out all of the other great robots that are riding bikes out there. So we've mentioned small business a couple times so far. I want to go ahead and define what it is exactly that we're talking about. To a small business, what we're talking today on social media and its evolution is to someone that might just be the only person at your company. It might just be a one-person shop trying to do everything. If that's the case, you probably look something like this. One phone in one hand, another phone in this hand, a lot of sticky notes everywhere. You're doing so much. And when it comes to doing social media, you just type something and push go, right? And just hope someone engages with you. Or maybe you have a few dozen people that work for you. At that point, it's usually relegated to the youngest person in the whole shop to do social media because they're hip and cool. And you want to be hip and cool, so you give them all of your passwords and they go post Barbie stuff. And what we're seeing is that these people who are now doing social for these small businesses, it's not what they do full time. And so it's obvious that they're not up to all of the evolution of what social media has done and how it has come from 2007, 2008, all the way up until today. And so they go back in their minds and they start using social media for your business as if it is 2007, 2008. And they just began just tweeting random things and some promotional stuff. So today, what we're not going to go through, this isn't going to be a history lesson. We're not going to go back to the Telegraph, which is what I've heard a lot of social media speakers talk about. The history of social media begins with the Telegraph. Yeah, who cares? That's fine. It might begin with the Telegraph, but for a small business owner to talk one-on-one daily with their customers, we're going to have to fast forward quite a bit. We're not going to go in the 1700s. We're going to jump all the way up to an event that happened, in my opinion, which is what really jump-started small businesses being on social media in a major way. It happened in January of 2009. Does anybody know what happened in January of 2009? Hint? Does this help? Giannis. No? What about this? There's a plane in the Hudson, and I'm on the ferry going to pick up the people. Crazy. Now, I know we're talking about small businesses, and the picture here shows U.S. Airways, and that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make that it was this tweet, this one tweet, that took over the media world, especially that day specifically. It was the time when all news stations and online digital media began having all of their reporters, you have to be on social media. These things are breaking. This wasn't a major photographer's photo. It wasn't a reporter that happened to be there to talk about it. They were using Twitter around the world, some random person on a ferry, as their #1 headline. social media was starting to hit the world in a big way. All your small business owners began realizing that their brains are going at a high capacity, like all small business owners have to do. You got to do a lot of things. So they started wondering, how can I take advantage of this? If this one single tweet can not just be heard around the world, but it can capture the minds of our local media. And then we start to see our local media jump on board. How can we take advantage of that? What can we do to get our message out there? So you'll see here in January of 2009, this is where everything started flying straight up. Basically everything back here before that's just like me and Patrick Allman and Dave Ray and my wife just tweeting a lot. That's really all this was. But we're here in January 2009, that's when the plane lands in the Hudson. And that's when everything kind of shifts. So what do the small business owners do? It's 2009. They're looking for some creative ways to get out there. So they put this on everything. Just put it on something. I don't care. Sir, it's a billboard. Doesn't matter. Problem solved. Does anybody still have a QR reader on their phone? We got like 8 people still hanging in there. All right. Are you trying to scan it? I'll give you a second. The Morse code thing said something too, if you guys are wondering. No? Hey, trying? Yeah, I don't know what I should do right now. Can I? Oh, there we go. Yeah. It rickrolled you. That's what we just heard. And we were talking about 2009, so why not? So just put it on everything. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Just do it. The next thing that they started doing, and I swear if you are doing this right now, I'm going to come punch you in the ear hole. It is auto DMs. That's all that we're going to do. Yay, we got someone to follow us. Quick, send them something they don't want. Thanks for following us. Click on some more crap. Stop doing that, if that's you. It was a pretty short-lived thing. But auto DMs, they were everywhere. And the buzzword, like I mentioned at the time, engage. What are you doing to engage? How are you engaging? Why aren't you engaging? Here are the secrets to engage. They were everywhere, and they still are. It was not just a huge buzzword, it was important. And as we saw earlier, when we look at the percentages, they can change, and it is important still today. But the evolution has changed a lot. So this is kind of just an overall look at a typical marketing funnel. We have a track at the top. That's when you're trying to just get your message out there, trying to get people to know who your brand is. The people who do know your brand, you've already gotten the attract section. You're coming down a little bit more. We're in the educate. They know your brand. They're trying to figure out why you're different. Why are you better than someone else? That's more the educate. We come down into the engage, and this is where social lived for years. This is really where it made its money here, is engaging with people and having a relationship to get them down to convert, where they actually do become a customer. This was kind of what engaging looked like. This is Barry. He's on Twitter talking about things, very MySpace-ish, and all the time we were doing that, we saw the fail whale. It took a while, but the birds finally took the whale away. But what we look at with social and engaging from 2009 as it's come forward throughout the years is that we're starting to notice that with social media now you can attract, educate, engage, and convert nearly on level playing field. It's no longer engage taking over everything. So let's take a second to look at the attract. This is just a small example of how you can use social media now in 2015 to really attract people. We talked about the organic reach just completely plummeting, and all of that is completely true. And Facebook has become almost specifically a pay-to-play type of platform. We can sit here and wallow and be sad. Or we can take advantage of all of the great, incredible, creepy targeting tactics that you can do with Facebook. Extremely creepy stuff. Because of time, I'm not going to go into all the details of all these, but I really do hope that you go and look more into some of the Facebook targeting options. Here's one of them. It's called a carousel ad. It's where we have 3 different links in one post for people to just kind of look through. We obviously do marketing at VI Marketing and Branding, and so these are 3 different blogs, and these are targeted to people who have been to our blog page before. We pixeled them, they go back to Facebook, Facebook retargets them. You can now retarget on Facebook just like you can on Google. Another option, this is a beta form coming through Twitter. You can specifically have things that go back to people who engaged with you at some point in the past on Twitter. We're talking about moving people down the funnel. They've already engaged with you, let's send them something else. I know a speaker yesterday, and I completely do agree with it on the surface, said, stop doing promotional stuff. And I completely am on board with that. You need to be more appealing, right? We got to beat the robot on a bike. But not everyone is in the attract stage. Some people are ready to engage. Some people are ready to convert. And the secret is knowing those people, who they are, and put that promotional thing in front of them. Don't put it in front of everybody else. We're now in segmented buckets, and we can now target people specifically in those buckets on social media. Educate. The biggest evolution in the educate section for social media is the videos. It's the autoplay videos. This is, I think they're called Always Green. Yes? Yes, I remembered. We were kind of looking for a great example of this. I wanted to, find a small business who was using video. Always Green, they make synthetic grass, and they're on Instagram. And on the surface, you might think, I make synthetic grass. Why would I ever be on Instagram? But they're standing out in a lot of different ways. This is them hand cutting out different things in synthetic grass, really trying to make it more approachable, more engaging. It shows you they're local. It shows you what they're doing. I'm probably more interested in this, but it's educating people. It's letting them know what you do. Another form of educating, this is something that we do with the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. He is a highly political, highly opinionated person. Talking about Dr. Keith Smith. He runs the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. It is technically a small business. And for years, all he did was blog. And boy, he could write a rant. He would blog on and on and on, write these lengthy blogs, and he had a great following that loved it. But with the autoplay video feature, what we did over the past year and a half is that we got him to appear on camera now to do his video blogs, to get people more of a face and to know him a little bit more and to be able to expand on things quicker. But we didn't stop there. We took that video blog, obviously uploaded it and had it autoplay and target it to the right people who wanted to hear it. But then we transcribed the blog, the video blog, transcribed it into a regular blog format. So the people who had always known him through reading could continue to just read if they wanted to. And then we took the video, we stripped the audio and uploaded the audio as a podcast. Whether it be on, there's a lot of good podcasts, SoundCloud's one of them. So we took this one piece of content where he could just push record and just talk. And we made 3 different pieces of content educating the audience where they liked to be educated from. Video, text, audio, meet the customer where they are and help them. Engage, we discussed earlier about all you had to do is just engage, just go online and engage with people. What did that really mean? To most people, that meant turn on your notifications, and if someone ever writes at the VI brand, I'll get a notification. I'll be like, let's engage together. It's changed quite a bit. What we're seeing now, this is a program that we use. It's more keyword monitoring, I would say, is probably the biggest evolution with social media engagement. We're no longer looking for people to talk to us. We're monitoring different areas, different zip codes for specific keywords. If you are a retailer that sells clothes, you need to know every time someone within 5 miles of you is tweeting about getting a new shirt. And then you jump in there and talk with them. Tell them who you are, tell them what you're about, give them promo codes if that's really what you want to do. But you need to be active with your listening. The previous way to do it, to just sit around and wait for someone to talk to you, that's passive. This is more active. You need to be active with your social media engagement. You can't see that at all. What you could see if it was brighter. These are all bubbles that are showing up of all the people who are mentioning you, and there are some bubbles that are bigger, some that are smaller. The ones that are bigger indicate the person has a large social following. And so you're not just seeing all of these keywords telling you that people are talking, you know which ones have 10,000 followers, which ones have 20. For you that are time restraint, you'll know which ones to get to the quickest. And convert. This is kind of the unicorn section of this. It's the thing that people on social media have never thought existed. There's no ROI, you can't show me ROI. You really always could. It took a lot more time, which in the end, it didn't really balance out, so people just stuck with engaging. But really what we're starting to see here with the convert is that you could specifically find out from this specific post / ad / whatever you want to call it, is making more conversions, helping you with A/B testing and which ones are working, which ones aren't working. I'm not going to describe everything that it takes to put pixels on certain landing pages or pixels in your cart to know if this person checked out from this post, but there's a good 2-minute video on Facebook that they make, bit.ly/ConfluenceConFB, and I found out after this was done that the capitalizations in this have to be perfect. So keep that in mind. This is going to be something easy for you guys to check out for Facebook. Over here on Twitter, bit.ly/ConfluenceConTW. This one tells you if this person saw this tweet in the next 14 days, did they make the purchase? It's directly helping you out, telling you what works and what doesn't work. You can make one post show up with one image and a certain copy, one with a different image in the same copy. So the same copy, 2 different images, which one's converting? Might help you figure out what your people are clicking on, what your customers are clicking on most. This one it's for LinkedIn. It's Confluence Con LI, but the reason it says Google Analytics, I know Mike was talking about it earlier, Google Analytics is incredible. There's a lot of great stuff on Google Analytics, and it's completely free. This link goes directly to, I think I would call it blog. It's more instructions on how to use Google Analytics to convert and show your conversions through LinkedIn. And the reason I used this one as an example is because the way they do it in this blog is a very similar way that you can do it on other social media platforms. There are dozens and hundreds, if not thousands, of social media platforms. We're not going to talk about all of them, but I can talk about Facebook specifically has their own way of doing it. Twitter has their own way of doing it. Most of the others, you can do it through Google Analytics if you just kind of go through this and read it and figure it out. So, real quickly to kind of recap this evolution over the past 5 years, or 6, 7, 8 years. 2008, this is my own visual interpretation. Highly engage. Yes, you could use it to attract for your marketing funnel. Educate and convert, we're still down here. And for a small business, we know we don't have $1 million marketing budgets. All you have are the things that you can work with just internally in-house. And I hate the pay-to-play model for Facebook, but when you can reach 1,000 targeted people for $8, people who have been to your website and almost bought but didn't, and then they went to Facebook to go think about it, you serve them that thing. You could do that 1,000 times for $8. It's something as a small business you need to be aware of. 2008, this is what it looked like. But as time went on, things started to evolve, organic reach started coming down, and you'll start to notice that in 2015, as a small business who doesn't have $1 million marketing budget, you can potentially, if you sit down and make a plan for it, use social media specifically to reach all parts of the marketing funnel to help your bottom dollar. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Yes, I'm on. Hi. That was great, thank you. Great actionable insights there. I have a couple of questions for you, if I may. Actually, before I go into that, I want to tell the audience a little story about how I never met you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so Casey was traveling around Europe about 6 years ago before I lived here. And I saw in the News OK blog that he was blogging about his adventures around Europe. And he was doing Airbnb and like staying on people's couches. It was before Airbnb. He was doing staying on people's couches.
Surfing.
Couch surfing, yeah. And so I emailed him. I was like, hey man, my fiance lives out in Oklahoma, and I noticed you're going to be in London. Do you want to come stay on my couch? And Casey was like, yeah, sure, man, yeah, sure. So I know, weird, right?
I did this.
He did, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. But it didn't end up happening because maybe he thought I might be an axe murderer, but I wasn't, and here we are. Anyway, so.
Well, I found out like 2 years ago, after the Confluence from 2 years ago, I was at Saints with Merrick, who was here, and some of you guys, and you were like, remember in 2009 you were, I was like, yeah, you're like, I'm the guy you were emailing. Whoa, blew my mind.
Serendipity, right? So, okay, a question about social media then. Okay, the last slide. Okay, the media, the plan, right? Could you give us a little bit of an example of one of those plans in action where a small to medium business would be able to attract, educate, engage, and,
Sure.
and convert?
Yeah, I think one of the simpler examples that we could talk about, I actually mentioned it with one of the presenters yesterday. The average person, learn the buying cycle of your customer. How often do they buy? Do they rebuy? A good example is that we do some social media ads for an auto dealer, and the average person buys a car every 3 years. Well, the strategy behind that is to figure out how long the buying cycle is, the buying process, and it's about 6 months. So 2.5 years ago, give me the email list of everyone who bought a car from you. And what we do is we don't email the people, we use the emails to upload into Facebook, and then Facebook says, of those 1,000 people that bought a car, 600 of them are on Facebook. They use that to log in. And so we tell Facebook, well, then send their newer version of their car to those people as they're scrolling through. One, they already know who we are. We don't need to really attract them, but we could if we just wanted to market people who are in the market for a new car. But this in particular, they've already been educated because they bought this car before. Engaging, they've already physically come in and bought a car from us, and we know that they've converted before. So it's one of those things where you have to really sit down and really figure it out. Don't just click boost post. You're just going to be wasting your dollars. Open the ads manager, look through what you can possibly do. I guess a better example for that might be the fact that in the auto industry, there are ways you can target people who are in the market for a new car. Like, that's one of the categories. We're no longer just targeting people 18 to 54. If that's still what you're doing, you need to figure out a different way to do it. We're not just targeting men or women. We're not targeting by demographics, we're targeting by actions. And Facebook knows a lot of really creepy stuff. If you don't ever want to be tracked by Google or Facebook, just turn your computer off and walk away. That's about the only way that you can do it.
Another question for you as one of the Twitterati, I keep saying that word, it's not a real word, for Oklahoma City. What brands in Oklahoma City and in Oklahoma are doing it right on social, do you think? Yeah.
Well, I think today, in 2015, it's more difficult to figure out who is doing all of this right. It's easy to figure out which ones are doing the engagement part right, because that's all the public stuff.
Right.
All of this, the attract, educate, and convert, we're talking about specifically targeting the right people, only showing it to them. And so it's hard for me to go on there and say this business is attracting and educating great, because I don't know what they're doing, because I might not be in their audience. So I'm not seeing the stuff that they're doing. And so it's getting more difficult to do that.
Yeah.
But you definitely know that it's most of your restaurants here are doing phenomenal jobs. They're looking out for it. A lot of your retail, a lot of the B2Cs, it's the B2Bs that have a more difficult time on social.
And this is very B2B potential.
Yeah, educate specifically, attract. I mean, every one of these sections is perfect for the B2B. They have longer buying cycles. You get to start the relationship and just go and go and go, especially on LinkedIn when you're targeting certain job titles. I know you can target job titles on Facebook, but it's obviously not as good as LinkedIn's targeting for job titles. But for B2Bs, if you're looking to get it in front of a CMO or a marketing officer, like what we would do, we would target CMOs maybe on LinkedIn in this area and show them a blog that we had just written and start going down the path from there.
Very good. Okay, let's open that up. Any questions for Casey from the audience here and now? There's one at the back here.
What was the tool that you were using to find keywords on social?
What was the tool you were using?
Yeah,
to
the
find
platform you
keywords
were looking at
in
there
social?
specifically is called Nuvi, N-U-V-I. There are a lot of platforms that do it. Some of the ones that do it that are free, that aren't as robust, but you can do keyword searching. Sprout is probably my favorite of the free ones. And there are advanced models, paid options for that. Nuvi is a more amped up version because we're an agency and we have just a crap ton of stuff that we're monitoring for the 40 different social clients that we're looking at. So it's, you know, it's whatever your budget is, there's something out there for you. But Sprout is going to be probably the cheap ones. That is my favorite, and we use Nuvi.
Any other burning questions at the front here?
Kind of ask what I wanted to ask. I use Sprout as well, but you can only use up to 10 clients on Sprout, or it's in the actual media.
For the free version, you mean?
Right. What else other than Nuvi and Sprout would you suggest?
Social Bro does a lot of good stuff in that regard. Let's see, I think EdgeRank Checker does some, not a lot. EdgeRank Checker is a good one. I started getting on EdgeRank Checker originally back in like 2010, 2011, because EdgeRank, the definition of EdgeRank, that's what Facebook calls their algorithm. They call it their EdgeRank, and their algorithm is based on what type of post it is, photo, video, text, and then its weight, the weight of the post, whether it got 12 comments or 15 shares, you know, how good is it? And if it's a really good engaging post, they'll show it to more people. That's why you need to be engaging. And so it's their EdgeRank, and what EdgeRank Checker does is that it basically tells you the impressions that your post is getting in real time, because Facebook, as you might have found out, they show you your post just whenever it feels like showing you its post. You'll see a post like 3 days later and it'll look brand new to somebody because it's at the very top. But you'll have a better feel for a brand, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't post all the time, you know, it's over posting. With EdgeRank Checker, it basically tells you we've stopped showing it anyway, so you can go ahead and start posting again.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Casey.
Sure.
Round of applause for Casey. Thank you.